Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, it's wonderful to have you here. Thank you so much for joining me. I've got this old ice tray which I'm not using anymore because it leaks, and what I've done is I've marked off going in on both sides. I'm going in by 1.8 centimeters and 1.8 on the other side because I want my sled only to be that small bit because this is a little bit too big. And as you can see, it bows out, so that's why I'm doing it that way. So I'm removing this center piece and I'm just using a box cutter to do this. So I'm just going to cut that down. I've got the piece cut through how I want it to be, and from the end to where I'm going to be cutting it along here is 7 centimeters. So I've cut that one 7 centimeters, and the other side I've only cut 1 centimeter in because I'm only using these two little front pieces to attach to the front of those ones. So I'm just going to cut that out. I've got all my pieces cut out, and now I'm just going to take a file and just clean up the edges a little bit so that they're not so rough. To make the skis for the sled, I'm going to be using this craft wire, and I'm cutting about 34 centimeters off. It might be a bit much, but I'd much rather have too much than too little. So just cut that off. And now I've got a small round nose pliers. I've measured it in at 10 centimeters, and all I'm doing is holding it and then folding it over, and then collapsing that down, and then closing it up as tight as what I can get it. So it's a bit like a hairpin. This is actually a small round nose pliers, it's not the big ones. So when you're curling, you must make sure that you've got it lying flat, not at an angle like that, otherwise you won't be able to curl it really nicely. So we're going to hold it flat like that, and without having anything sticking at the top. Here, just rotate. When you can't go any further, move the pliers and then rotate again, so that you've got a nice little curl like that at the end. And now we're just going to make that a little bit bigger. I'm first separating the wire, so pulling that one out like that, and then we're just turning that one so that it can make it more like the sled ski in front. Like that. And the wire that I've pulled away from the main wire, I'm going in by 2 centimeters, and I'm just bending it upright just to keep it out of the way. And now we're going to take the little sled. I've already made one of them, which looks like that. I'm going to be bending this one also at 10 centimeters from the end, and you're going to be bending this one under. So that's the top of the wire, and then we're going in the reverse so that it's actually under this one, and then we're going to squash that closed as well, so it looks like the hairpin again. And then taking the round nose pliers again, making sure this piece is lying flat, putting it in there, nothing sticking out the top. We're going to rotate the pliers. When you can't go any further, just shift the pliers and then rotate a bit more. And now we're going to separate that wire as well, so that it's going to be going up like that. And now we can make this one a little bit more curly to do the back part of the sled or the skis. So it should look like that. So I've got it bent all according to how I need it. And now the last one that we've just worked on, I'm going to take that one, and because I want a slightly bigger curl on it, I'm putting it about halfway down my pliers and then curling in the opposite direction. Can't go any further. Rotate my pliers and just go round a bit more, so I've got my loop like that. And now for the front one, we're going to do exactly the same, and we're just going to be going also in the opposite direction to this one. So once again, nothing at the top, and then just rotate. So we've got the pieces that look like that. And now we can take our little sled and then position our pieces on. So that would be the front one, and that's the back, and then I'm going to be gluing them on. So now I just have to put them into the right position how I want them. So everything is looking quite fine. So now I can start decorating the rest of the sleigh. I've got a piece of red felt which I've marked out a small section like that, which I'm going to be cutting out so I can glue it all along my little sled. I've cut myself a piece of cardboard which is 14 centimeters long, and I've folded it over at 7 centimeters, and the measurements from each of my little folds is, the first fold is 1.5 centimeters, and then the next one is 2, and then it goes up to 3 centimeters. And I've tapered it so the bottom part of it is 3 centimeters and it goes up to 3.5 centimeters, because the little sled that I've made, as you can see, the bottom part is a little bit narrower than the top part. So when I put the chair in, it fits in like that. I've rolled a small piece of toilet paper so that it can make a nice rounded headrest on my seat. And now I'm going to be taking this little piece, and I've got some velvet ribbon, and I'm just going to be covering the chair with the velvet ribbon like that. To cover with the back of the chair, I've just cut a small piece of the ribbon which I'm going to be gluing on like that, and then trimming it to the shape that the chair is. I've taken a small piece of cardboard and I've just rolled it into a little tube so I can glue it onto the front of the sled like that, and then I'm going to cover it all in the same felt that I used for the rest of the sled. I've got everything glued in place, so I've got my little piece of cardboard on the front, and now I'm going to be using these really tiny gold beads, and I'm going to be gluing them all the way around the chair back like that. I'm using my T8000 to glue this on. With this glue, it's better to wait a few minutes before you put it on, so I'm just going to stick that on now. And then I'll just wait for that to dry a wee bit. And now I'm going to be draping my beads so that they go around like that and then over the other ones. So once again, I'm just going to be placing the glue where I want it to go, and then wait for that to dry a bit before I put the beads down. I've got all the beads glued on this side, and now I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. On my sled where I've got my little join over here I want to cover, so I'm going to be putting like an instrument panel there. So I've got these tiny little, we call them rhinestone buttons. So I'm going to be using 3 of those, and then I've also got some of these rhinestones which are the blacks and silvers. So I'm taking 2 blacks and a silver to make an instrument panel for my little sled. And then I'm taking 2 of the little beads that I used for going around, and I'm going to be just gluing it just like that. So it looks like a little lever that can be pulled up and down. I've broken off 2 little leaves from a glittered fern that I've got, and I'm going to be placing them just on the sides like that. So I've got one on both sides, and I'm just going to glue those down with some hot glue. And now we're going to work on the skis. I'm using these metallic studs so that I can cut one off and put it on each of the curves that we've got on the sled. They are self-adhesive, but I will be gluing them on with T8000 as well. So I'm just placing them for now. And then do the other one exactly the same. I've glued all the beads on, and now we can glue the skis onto the sled. So I'm going to be putting them about the gap over here will be about 1 centimeter so that it all lines up. And I'm going to be using hot glue to do this and T8000. So I've got a double strength on it. I've got the skis all glued on. I'm extremely happy how that's looking. So that's the inside of it with all the instrument panels. And now I'm just going to make a bag to put inside there. I've got a small piece of red crepe paper, and I'm just folding it like that so that I can make a circle, and then I'm just going to cut that off. So there's my sack, and I'm just going to put some wadding in there, and then I've got this beautiful really thin gold ribbon which I'm going to be tying around it. So I'm just starting off with a small piece to see how that goes. So I'm quite happy with the size of that. It's quite nice and small. And now I'm just going to put the ribbon on. And then I'll trim those down and just glue them into place. I've got my little bows glued in place how I want it, so now it can just sit in the back of my sled. And I've got this little tiny Father Christmas, that's a keychain thing, which I'm just going to be removing this little thing so that he doesn't have it sticking at the top of his head, and I'm going to place him into this particular one is a seating one, so it can sit quite nicely on the chair. And then I put the bag in the back like that. So my little sled is now completed. If you found this video helpful or you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. Really appreciate it if you would subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.